Hello, my fellow comic book collectors. We are going to do another spotlight on two amazing artists. I'm not sure quite which ones Mark is going to do, but I'm doing some ones that I like, so that's all that matters. So we're going to do two on this channel, one each, and then two on Mark's channel. So you got to check out part two, and I'm going to show some really awesome artwork. You're going to love it. I'm not sure what Mark's showing. He's probably showing some awesome artwork too, so you'll love it. So go there afterwards. Okay, without any further ado, Mark, who do you have for us?
Okay, Alan. So I'm sort of last week I showed a sort of an older style artist and a new artist, and a man and a woman, and I'm doing exactly the same again. You know, one of the big changes that's occurred in comics since I first started, you know, in the 1980s, is not only the number of women that are involved in the comic hobby. There was virtually none in 1980.
Yeah.
But also the number of female creators in comics has just grown astronomically over the last 30 to 40 years, which I think is one of the best trends that we've had in the comic collecting area. Right, so I did a relatively new female comic artist last week, and I'm doing the same this week. Last week she was French. This week she's English. She comes from Middlesbrough. Again, like Carla Cohen, who I did before, she's only been doing this for, I think, 3 or 4 years, still relatively new and hasn't got a huge body of work as of yet. But I'm really keen on it. I'm going to show you a few covers. I met this artist at Thought Bubble last year. She's called Zoe Thorogood. And I'll show you some of the stuff she's done. Now, this is one of my favorites of her covers. It's from a series called Travel Sick Pilots, and this is her cover for that. This is actually signed. This is her signature down here.
Or is it Homesick Pilots?
Homesick Pilots, yes. Sorry,
I read that series, so I know it. So it's a good series.
It is. It's good. It's a horror sort of series.
Yeah.
This is Zoe's signature here. This is actually triple signed because the writer and internal artist of this, Dan Waters, and I can't remember his name, Wingard, were also at Thought Bubble. So I got all 3 of them to sign this. So this is a triple signed copy. But I love this cover by Zoe Thorogood.
Did she do all the covers for Homesick Pilots, or?
She didn't, no. She did. Okay. I think she did some more than just this one, but I don't think she did all of them.
Okay.
Right. She also did this cover. I was a bit devastated actually, because it was only after I'd been to Thought Bubble that I realized she'd done this cover. We were discussing this earlier.
You could have gotten it signed, yeah.
Done the artwork. So I actually took this copy up to Thought Bubble to get signed by the author. So it's in Department of Truth. And of course, James Tinian was at Thought Bubble, and I got him to sign it. Unfortunately, I didn't realize the artwork on this was by Zoe Thorogood until I got back home, because I could have got Zoe to sign this as well.
Yeah, the double sign would have been cool. And it's a great cover to do that, because there's like all that black space.
Exactly. I mean, James has signed it really nicely there. And if I got Zoe to do, I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I hope she's going to be at Thought Bubble this year, and I'll take it back and get a double signature. So yeah, Department of Truth. What issue is it? I don't know. 9.
That must be a variant cover. I don't know that cover.
I think it is a variant cover. Yes. Yeah. The next one as well. This is from a series that came on, another sort of horror anthology series that came out last year called Ha Ha. And again, this is a variant cover. And this is a Zoe Thorogood artwork. There's her signature just there. I like her signature. She sort of draws it in a sort of box. It's quite,
yeah. Almost looks like some like Asian, like, you know, that when they do the stamp, you know what I mean?
It looks like a Chinese stamp, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But there she is. That's a cover of Ha Ha. Now then, So, what has she been? She also did which I've got arriving tomorrow, actually. But she actually writes as well, and she wrote a graphic novel in 2020 called "The Impending Blindness of Billy Scott," which I got great reviews, and I've got coming in the post tomorrow. But my favourite thing by Zoe is this been coming out this year, and I think not only is it my favourite series so far from 2022, but it contains the best single issue comic for me from anything I've read in 2022, and it is a series called Rain. It's the Joe Hill.
Yeah, it's a good series. Good series.
Joe Hill story. So it's horror again. She seems to be getting a lot of horror coming. And this is Rain #1. Now, I thought this issue is a standalone story. So there is it's part of the run, but it actually works as a standalone story in itself. The premise is that there's a sort of disaster in that rain starts falling as needle sharp sort of pins and kills loads of people. This first issue here is very poignant. It's a bit of a love story, and the art from Zoe works really, really well with the text. These are all hand drawn, so Zoe hand draws all these. And for me, that is my favorite comic so far this year, not only for the series, but which is consistently high quality, but this particular issue, #1, top of my list for this year, and will almost inevitably be in my list of top comics for 2022. Be pretty difficult to dislodge it. And there's a couple of the other covers here, and they've all got, I think this is a connecting cover theme with this pin-like crystal going covers, and the latest one I think is issue 4. So
yeah, it was a good series. I was reading it too.
You've read it as well, have you? Yeah, I'm really enjoying that. So there we go. And she had, to be honest, she's got an autobiographical, semi-autobiographical graphic novel coming out. I think towards the end of this year. It's called "It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth," and I've seen a couple of bit of the artwork from that. It looks really good, and I'll be picking that up. So there we go. That's my comic artist, Zoe Thorogood.
Wow, great. That again, another artist that I knew but didn't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know the name. I wouldn't have been able to say, oh, that's her artwork. But now I know the style. I'm like, oh, I know a bunch of books that are her.
Quite a distinctive style. I think she originally started out calling herself a cartoonist, but to be was a bit more developed than that now. So
yeah, well, that's what always happens. They get better as they go. Yeah, so I'm gonna be doing a pretty cool artist. I really like this artist. It's Wally Wood, and he's actually a golden age artist and a modern artist. So he went pretty up, well, not really into the modern era. He died in 1981, but he was pretty young. He was only 54 when he died. His life is really tragic. Like, really tragic. So basically, he's like this great artist. During the, he was like he was too young to go to the Second World War. He was just like in that cusp, but he did join the military, went into airborne, and then when he returned, he was an artist. And he was basically going around to all the like art shops, getting rejected from every single one of them. But then eventually he did some work at Fox Publishing. They love grinding their artists. That's what they do. So he basically did some lettering for them, and he did some covers as well. So I'm going to show you some of that. And So one of the books that he did, and let's see if I can find it handy. Of course, it's at the very bottom of my stack of things I prepared. This is Martin Kane, number 4. It's actually number 1, but they numbered it 4 because it sounds better. So yeah, so this is that was the way it was done in the Golden Age. What they would do is like, if it's a number 1, nobody would buy it. But if it's like, oh, this series has been going for a while, so it must be good. So they number it number 4. So, but it's also a book that was mentioned in Seduction of the Innocent. So the thing that I like about Wally Wood is his good girl art. So he does a lot of these kind of pretty girls. So after working at Fox, he shifted over to work with Will Eisner. And I guess Will Eisner needed some person to do the background art for the Spirit. So he ended up working at EC. And that's really where most people know Wally Wood. You know, it's kind of like his big thing. And he did some really amazing covers. This one is a super hot cover right now.
Well, yeah.
This is Shock Suspense Stories. This is a great cover, really great cover. So yeah, so this is Shock Suspense Stories number 6. Really, just a really great one. This book has tripled since I bought it, and I only bought it like a year ago. Another one that is very famous and one of my favorite from Wally Wood is this one, Weird Science. He was actually the one that, so if I can move it in.
Right, yeah, I like that, yeah.
This is famous because it's the one that led to Mars Attacks.
Yeah, I was going to say, I like the alien with...
This actually was the thing that was referenced for Mars Attacks. So that's Wally Wood that encouraged that. So the cool thing about it is Wally Wood was the one that encouraged EC to go into horror. Not horror, but science fiction.
Okay.
If it wasn't for Wally Wood, they wouldn't have done any science fiction stories. So he was the one that kind of spearheaded that. And I'm going to show some more horror. He did some horror. Shock Suspense Stories. This is number 4. Again, another one that was mentioned, The Seduction of the Innocent. But just a, kind of a cool cover.
He is a really good artist, Wally Wood.
Yeah. And another one that's mentioned, The Seduction of the Innocent, that he did. This is for a different company. But he did this one as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and then he also worked for Avon. And he did this book cover, Eerie number 4. He didn't do all the covers for Eerie, but he did this one.
He did the one
now,
with large attributes.
Yes, and that's kind of one of the things that there's actually a really funny story about Wally Wood, where he was the one that kind of created Power Girl, and the story is that the way nobody was recognizing him. And actually his whole thing, if you kind of look at all of his storyline, his thing is he really hated editors. He really just hated them. He wanted to sort of work independently. He kind of wanted to do his own thing. But at the same time, he felt like he was ignored. So when he was working at DC, he was trying to get the attention of the editors in a way. So what he did was he kept on making the boobs on Power Girl bigger and bigger. And each issue, he'd just make them incrementally bigger and tell the editors, there's something going on here. This girl has big boobs. And so with Power Girl, it's sort of stuck. Where now we kind of recognize her as this very busty girl. So, and that's Wally Wood's influence on that character.
He was quite a tortured soul, wasn't he?
Very much so. I didn't get into his death. You'll see that. But he actually was one of these artists that we don't realize how instrumental he was, in terms of influence. Another series that he worked on that most people don't realize that he worked on is Daredevil.
Oh, I didn't realize.
So this is Daredevil number 7. which is the first red Daredevil suit. This is Wally Wood.
Oh, great. Is that
So
Namor on the cover with him?
Yeah, it's a sort of the first crossover with Namor as well. So between Daredevil and Namor. So it's a major thing because that's the iconic suit for Daredevil, it's the red suit. So that was Wally Wood. And another not so iconic, but cool. I don't have a great, both mine are really low grades. This is Stiltman.
Stiltman.
Yeah, so another Wally Wood influence.
I love that cover, the perspective.
Me too. I actually love this one.
Yeah.
I almost repeatedly buy it as well because I always like, do I have that? Because I've seen it so many times. I just love this cover. This is, yeah, so Daredevil number 8. But as I was saying, Wally Wood was kind of a tortured soul. Like he had struggled with alcoholism. He had some major issues. Even Bill Gaines from EC, said that he was a troubled spirit, but brilliant. That was his kind of comment about him. Everyone refers to him as Wally Wood, even Bill Gaines, when he referred to him as Wally, but he preferred to be called Wallace. Yeah. So it's his actual name is Wallace, but often he would sign his books just Wood. That'd be his signature. But he actually did self-publishing. So he really, I actually have a bunch more. I could show like tons more, but I'm going to show you one. I'm going to have finger censor it because Wally Wood, he really liked to do the more adult stuff.
Yeah, pornographic stuff, didn't he?
Yeah. So actually, one of the ones that I'm looking for, I'm actually wanting to buy this. It's a poster that he did, and it's an infamous poster where it's like Walt Disney characters, and it's so funny. Yeah. I've almost bought like a reprint, but I want the original. I want that original one. It's really hard to find.
I know the one you mean. It's
yeah. You get like all different Disney characters performing sexual acts. it's like the only way you can describe or censor a little bit. And this is so he self-published this, and and actually I put 2 issues together. I'm going to just slightly finger censor this. So I'm going to show you her butt, but but it's really great artwork. Like if you like good girl art, Sally Forth is like really awesome. He actually did later one called Gang Bang, which was a bit more adult, obviously by the name, which featured that character in much more sexually active things. Sally Forth, for the most part, was pretty innocent. Nudity, but fairly innocent. And here's another one. I'm gonna have to finger censor it a little bit. Just another Sally Forth. There's only 4 in the series, the original series. I'm gonna actually show more in my next artist from this from Sally Forth, because it is actually, even though you might not know it, it is actually in terms of that book, it actually had major influences on some underground comics that came out in the 90s. So it's kind of actually a very influential book. So those are just a bunch of, I'm not even sure if I can show this one because it's so hard to censor, but it's, there was a bunch of publishers that later, like Arrows, that published a lot of, Wally Wood's kind of more adult things. Yeah. And there was one, I got to kind of, like, I'll just show the top of it. So it's called Horny Toads. And it's just a really, his artwork is fun, kind of sexy. It was really interesting. Now to sum up his life, he was there's a quote from him that's actually quite interesting. He just before he died, and as I said, he died when he was 54. His kind of quote that summed up his own life was, "If I had to do it all over again, I would have chopped my hands off."
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, which is very
Yeah. So, or would have cut my hands off. That actually is the real quote. He shot himself,
yeah.
and that's how he died. So, very tragic guy, brilliant artist, but you get that sort of brilliance, and the I think every time he created something, it took a toll on him. So it's kind of sad, but he's a great artist, and had major influences on like a lot of like things that we recognize today. So yeah, just a great artist, Wally Wood or Wallace Wood.
Great pick. I agree. I think a genuinely great artist. Really good, and a very sad life story.
Yeah. Okay. Did you ever collect anything from him?
I've got quite a lot. I haven't specifically gone out to collect Wally Wood, but I have got quite a lot. If you'd said to me, put together 10 Wally Wood, I would be able to.
Okay, so that's cool. That's cool.
They're not ones that I've gone out and said, go and buy. They're ones that I've bought and then I've subsequently discovered it's Wally Wood.
Yeah. I was that way too. Now I'm a little bit more proactive and actually search for his stuff a little bit. But yeah, I enjoy his artwork. Okay, well, thank you. This has been part 1. Part 2 is going to be on Mark's channel. And I recommend you check it out and subscribe to this channel, subscribe to that channel. And we'll see you in the second part.
Yeah, see you in the second part. Cheers, Alan.